Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Robert. I've spent the past decade in fast-moving consumer goods businesses, from Budweiser to Lucky Saint to Seedlip, and a whole host of other very high, fast growth startups. And on this channel, you may have seen some of my shorts, some of the videos. I just deep dive into some of the growth tactics that I've used in my career, how I've seen some other businesses grow, and overall try and bring you advice that I really think will help your small business. Today I didn't really have a plan for a video, so I'm just going to come on, talk to the camera and kind of fill in the gaps that may not be too understood about my background, my career, and really some of the things I think you can learn from my background. One of the questions that I'm getting over and over again is how I got to where I am today. And it's not exactly like I'm a FTSE 100 CEO, but to be in a position where you're helping to grow startups, where I'm working hand in hand with founders, directors, and people who have founded things based upon their true belief on how the world should work. That for me is an absolute privilege. I've learned that I really enjoy being the number 2, 3, 4, 5 in a business where I can help directly with the person with the vision, and I can help execute the ads, run websites, run a P&L, manage inventory, and manage a team of people who help the whole machinery of a direct-to-consumer brand operate. And I thought I'd dive into how I even got to the roles that I'm working in today, because I've worked for a company backed by Steven Bartlett, who, as everyone knows, is Diary of the CEO. I was marketing director at Cheese Geek. But before that, I ran e-commerce at a brand called Lucky Saint. I'd ran e-commerce at a brand called Seedlip. And before that, I started my career at Budweiser. And I think a lot of what I do now actually hinges on that first 7 months of my career. There's a lot of fundamental how I work with people, how I understand brands get built, how I understand products get made. That actually comes to those first 7 months of my career, which is on the Budweiser graduate scheme. Budweiser's corporate name is AB InBev. And the scheme I was on was called the Global Management Trainee course. That is a course and a graduate program that really does set the entire foundations of someone's career up. And for me, I didn't really recognize that at the time. I knew it was a very good graduate program. But looking back now, and some of the things I have to do day to day working with very sophisticated brands, is I now understand the full pipeline of how a brand gets made, from how a product gets manufactured, how it gets packaged up, how it gets shipped out, how the customer finds the product. It could be in retail, it could be in direct to consumer, it could be on Amazon. And that is a view of a company. Pardon me. And that for me is an asset that I have that others don't. When I was at Budweiser, AB InBev, I had to work on night shift in breweries, which taught me an awful lot. Working with people who work on night shift is very different from working with people who are white collared and work in an office. It's very different working in a marketing agency versus working on a packing line. One isn't better than the other. Both are vital, however, to the growth of a business. And I guess the one thing that taught me is, if you have just started a drop shipping brand, or you've just started an e-commerce brand, and you're looking to understand how did Represent get to the size that it is, how did Nike, how did Oakley get to the size that they are? If you break these things down into fundamentals, so if you think about a Represent or you think about a Nike, they have a huge catalogue of products. Split every category out. Look at the shoes, look at the t-shirts, look at the caps. Look at how everything's built. Each of those products will have a different manufacturing process. Each of those products will require a certain amount of packaging and care and attention when it goes through to an order to a customer. Each one of those products has different pricing and therefore different marketing attached to each product. There are things that you can learn inherently from looking at these other brands. But everything a Nike and a Represent do is actually completely relevant to your small little startup. Whether you're at $0 right now, or $100 or £1,000 a month, $1,000 if you're in the States, there's not much different. all that is different is scale. You may have, especially if you're drop shipping, you don't have to worry too much about huge purchase orders. You might be running off 20 or 30% margins. You might want to go to 70 or 80% margins, but then you're going to have to understand MOQs. You're going to have to understand large purchase orders. You're then going to have a very good handle on cash flow. There are fundamentals of running a business where, as you scale, you need to get a bit more sophisticated. And that's something not all founders are prepared for. It's not something that is easily taught unless you end up in a graduate job at a big multinational. You're not really taught those things. And a lot of founders have to learn by making mistakes. And that's what I really enjoy. I have that background and I can bring that into startups and bring that to founders. And they know that I've dealt with an issue before. And especially when I'm working with team members, whether it's with a marketing team where nobody's worked in operations before, or whether I'm working with operations and no one's worked in marketing before, or whether I'm working with a founder who doesn't do any of the operations and just has to rely upon a solid team. I very much value the graduate program that I had, and I didn't realize how valuable that would be at the time. So whether you're 18 to 24 and you're thinking, what do I do for my first job out of college? Or you may just be leaving school and you might be figuring out what you want to do. My biggest advice is pick something that you think is going to challenge you and interest you. The grad program at AB InBev was, for me, fascinating. The whole pitch was I got to fly around the world with 200, 300, 400 other graduates and learn everything about how a multinational operates. That, for me, was interesting. I didn't know where it would lead my career. But looking back, it was a really, really solid foundation. A lot of you may go into startups straight out of university, which is an amazing opportunity if you can get one in a startup. However, the downsides are you're going to have a ton of responsibility. You're going to have to learn on the job, and often you'll be working for a founder who doesn't understand the totality of their business. And that has pros and cons. One is you'll understand vision and growth, and how anything can get launched if you have enough motivation. The downsides are you may not ever have that foundational knowledge that you would get from joining a huge business at the start of your career. Likewise, if you're maybe at the latter stages of your career, maybe you're in a multinational and you're thinking, what do I go and do next? Really, there's two things you can do. You can either take a leap of faith and go, do you know what? I want more free time. I want to test myself with picking up a new skill and therefore go down the startup route or work for a founder. You may have that itch to have a lot more responsibility if you're in a multinational that you may not have. But if you're the other way around, if you're in a startup and you're getting older and you want to have a more, I would say, secure job, people lean to multinationals. You can go get a very large amount of knowledge by even joining a multinational, because you'll be surrounded by people who have been in a company for 10, 15, 20 years. And the amount of knowledge, as long as you're inquisitive, you're going to pick up will be phenomenal. So those are the trade-offs. You can either go down the multinational route as a graduate, learn a lot, have a foundational bank of knowledge that's going to set yourself up wonderfully for the rest of your career. You can take the leap of faith and go join a startup and get messy and learn, be the number one or number two employee straight as soon as the company's been launched. They're two completely different learning curves. One's not better than the other. But again, in my career to date, where I am right now, the ability for me to launch brands, I have my newsletter business, Threshold Performance Club, understanding the foundations of business and how finance can talk to operations, how operations will talk to marketing. Having that really strong foundational background from a big company has really allowed me to understand what challenges may be coming up and how to manage them. And if I had only ever started and worked in startups, I'd always be guessing, how did Nike or Represent, all these bigger companies do it? And there's not to say that there's nothing that I don't learn. I think that working within startups, you're faced with challenges that you would actually never have got in a multinational, and therefore all of that training is useless. You know, working with passionate founders, they come up with the next big idea. Can sound crazy, but it could be the next big thing, and you just have to figure out how to do it. It's an environment that if you are motivated by your own ambition, and you like to get up and go and take initiative, startups are going to be phenomenal for you. That's a bit of a ramble. I hope it's given quite a good insight into certainly my experience of, you can go down two different paths. Should you go multinational route or should you go startup route? And if you have any questions whatsoever, drop a comment, like, comment, subscribe. It massively helps me get feedback, what I should talk about next, what shouldn't I talk about, what interests you most, what interests me most, and I kind of match the two up. And if you drop any comments, then I will get back to you. I respond to every single comment, as long as you're not a bot. So yes, my DMs and my messages are always open to try and help people figure out what they want to do next. When it comes to your next decision, should you go down the startup route or should you go down the multinational route? Consider maybe some of the things that I've said. Do you want to have a really sophisticated foundation to your career? Or do you just want to take the leap of faith and go join a startup and learn everything on the go? I'm really glad I did the first 7 months in a multinational, looking back on it, because again, I have that exposure now to how big companies are run, and I can bring that into startups, and it's very, very good because every startup wants to be a big company. That is something ingrained into every founder. Very few founders want to have a small business forever. They want to turn it into a big business. And if you can arm yourself with those skills, any founder of any startup is going to really value you. If you are facing a career decision, do you go this startup or do you go this multinational? Drop me a comment, leave me a message, and I will 100% be getting back to you. I'm going to be posting almost every single day. So if you're interested in startups, direct to consumer, Shopify businesses, e-commerce, digital marketing, content creation, I'm going to be diving into all of that, because alongside my corporate startup roles and helping founders and having started my own businesses, I'm also a social media creator, and last year I generated 100 million views on Instagram. And so that has really helped me know, how do you do modern day media that drives a business? So thank you for watching. Can't wait to see you in here for the next video. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.